ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us offer our salutations to Lord Krishna, the embodiment of bliss, who came to establish dharma and punish the wicked. Let us pray to him to lead us from unreal to real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying the Yoga of Meditation, chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. We are coming very close to the end of the chapter. Yoga of meditation. One has to follow the technique properly in order to get success in the path of meditation. All the yogas have got specifics to be followed properly. If there is any drawback in following the specifics, we won't get succeed. So here in the Dhyana Yoga, Lord Krishna very emphatically said that anybody who has done something good, some practices, some spiritual activity, it will not go in vain. It will add up to his good samskaras. Please note that every one of us have passed through lots of births and deaths. Through many lives we have come to this human life. But that's not the end of it. The life continues until and unless we realize the divine. And that divine is not far away. You don't have to go to heaven to see the divine. He is in our very own heart. Our own heart, always dwelling in us, still we are ignorant. This ignorance is because of the impurities of the mind. These impurities are created by us, by our actions done in an improper way. Living the life in an improper way, carrying on activity in an improper way, being dishonest, all following all negative values have given this effect of ignorance. As long as we are ignorant, there is no scope for the realization of the divine. Ignorance has to be removed, however difficult it may be, however it may seem impossible. But you must know, nothing is impossible for God. Impossible becomes possible. And that is how that is possible? Through the grace of the Lord. Grace plays very important, crucial role in our spiritual journey. To attain that grace, we have to practice diligently. Even coming to ashrama is a most important part of sadhana. Take it that way. You are coming here to Sri Ramakrishna. You are coming here to remind yourself your spiritual glory. And you are coming here to understand the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, to practice them in the actual life. So, in the verse number 43, Lord Krishna clearly says, Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandana. Arjun, after taking such a birth, one regains the knowledge acquired in the previous life and strives again to achieve perfection. It prompts him. It makes him think of the divine. Somehow the idea comes to that. You don't know how it comes. It comes and it acts upon. And it acts upon. If you closely observe your life, you will see how things are happening without your knowing it at all. So coming to spiritual path is also like that. But it has got a link. But all these links you will be able to know it at the final realization. When you get the final realization of the divine, then you will know your past, your present, and as well as your future. Then nothing remains to be unknown. Everything becomes known. So, that's the maximum spiritual glory one attains. But people don't understand unless they pass through fire of suffering. Even then people may not understand. Probably they want to continue the creation of this world. Anyway, understanding religion properly, practicing the ideas are very, very important. So you must have proper scriptures, proper guru to instruct you in a proper way. So in modern times, the scriptures, the authentic scriptures depicting the life and teachings of the great masters, they act as guide for us. So we are all channels. Only God expects, keep the channel clean so that the divine power flows through it. So the cleaning process is left to us. We have to clean. You have made the room dirty, so it's your duty to make the room clean. Don't expect somebody else to come and clean the room. So it is like that. So the yogi continues his spiritual efforts for realization of the true self dwelling in himself in the present life. Since his subtle body of mind, the intellect which contains all the previous samskaras, is not destroyed. Everything is there. That's the beauty of it. Nothing is destroyed. Till the yogi gets realization or liberation, till then the subtle body continues to exist. Subtle body means mind, intellect. So whatever sadhana we have done will come to our help for our ongoing spiritual journey. It protects us from dangerous distractions. The lighted lamp, though small, destroys the darkness of the home. The fire sparks can destroy many things. Even so, the power of knowledge is like that. It takes away the ignorance instantly. Ignorance and knowledge cannot coexist. Where knowledge is, there is no ignorance. We should make heart Daivamaya, intellect Jnanamaya, mind Atmachintanamaya, Atma Chintanamaya. It's only in human life the spiritual goal can be attained. Not in any other region in this cosmos. Not in heavens. Only on this earth plane the path is prescribed. So life is most precious from that point of view, and it should not be indulged in worldly distractions and humiliating temptations. So, how we use very costly things very meticulously. Same way, the wealth of merit acquired through many previous births has made it possible to get this human body, and so should not be used for useless things. Through this should get into means of acquiring spiritual realization. There's a Sanskrit saying, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. Among the living beings, human life is very, very selective. Very, very difficult to attain. That's all about 43. Verse number 44 says, Purvabhyasena tena iva hriyate yamashopi saha jigyasriti yogasya sabda brahma ati vartate. Because of his practices in the previous life, he is carried on irresistibly. Even he who seeks the knowledge of yoga goes beyond Shabda Brahma, that is, Vedic rituals and rites. Whatever sadhana one has done in his previous births, he is a powerful force that makes him pursue it further in spite of his not intended to do so. Good samskaras make the intellect meritorious. This is the reason why some persons get dispassion, devotion to the Lord, skill in the practice of yoga, associating with holy people for hearing sacred scriptures even from very early age. The samskaras force the person, in spite of his non-inclination, to engage in sacred spiritual activities. It is the samskaras that determine the further series of things to be done. There are so many examples in our scriptures. Dhruva, Nachiketa, Prahlada, Markandeya. They were all devoted to the divine from their childhood because of spiritual tendencies acquired through previous lives. So, it is logical to believe that we had previous lives and we will have future lives. Life continues until we realize the divine. That's the truth. Verse number 45. Prayatna ditamanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddhas tato yati parangatim. The yogi who diligently strives, perfecting gradually through many births, becomes completely free from all sins or imperfections and reaches the supreme goal of self-realization. In order to achieve the goal of self-realization, Atma-Gyan or Brahma-Gyan, 3 necessary steps are described in this verse. 1. Not to give up efforts in pursuing the chosen spiritual practice. 2nd, the good samskaras acquired through many births. 3rd, to be free from sins. All these 3 things which I mentioned now are to be accomplished in order to achieve the goal of Atma-Gyan. One should strive diligently. It should be a strong determination that he should strive till he accomplishes the goal. Courage, self-confidence, and facing challenges are to be well established in the yogi who wants to realize the divine. The Upanishad declares, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. This Atman cannot be attained by a weakling. Weakling means a man who cannot control his senses, who yields to his weak tendencies. Such a person is not qualified or will not feel any movement in spiritual journey. The lazy one does not get it. Tulsidas said, Sab vastu jugmai alsi koi nahi pai. So, effort is very, very essential. Kathopanishad declares, Kaschit dhiraha pratyagatma namayakshate. One who is courageous, bold and strong will attain self-realization. Now, second point is significance of samskaras. If a person is making a steady effort, it should be understood as a result of his previous practices done in his past lives. Getting human birth, desire for liberation, the display of good samskaras are because of the merits earned in past lives, declares scriptures. The zeal of the determined person in pursuing his effort makes him realize the glory of realization. Third essential point is to be free from sins. Till the blemishes are removed from the chitta, one cannot experience the glory of Atman. Sri Dattatreya Maharshi has said, Papopahata buddhinam tadvartopi narocate. So long as the bad samskaras are in the buddhi, in the intellect, even the hearing of liberation does not taste him. That's the most terrible effect. You know that when some of the people came from the boat to meet Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, amongst those people, one or two were very sincere and devoted. So they all entered into Sri Ramakrishna's room at Dakshineshwar. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the couch, giving spiritual instructions, inspiring the people in spiritual path. And these one or two devotees were very sincere. They were fascinated by Sri Ramakrishna's most simple, effective instructions. So they were hearing with full attention. It went on more than half an hour. The others were restless because they were not really prepared for this kind of hearing spiritual talks. Their mind was full of worldly tendencies, worldly ambitions. So they had become crazy, so to say. So they would whisper with these 2-3 devotees, well, how long do you want to sit here? They said, as long as Sri Ramakrishna is here teaching, we will sit here. All right, you sit here, no objection, but we will wait for you in the boat. They all left. See, that's the way it works. As long as the impurity is there, you won't even like to hear, not only hear, you won't like even to enter the gate of the ashrama. Arey, ashrama, we should go after 60 years. Why now run? Let me marry and beget children and let me pass through. What is there? Life is continuous. Afterwards, what we can do? Like that, they got their own philosophy. It's called Anukula Vedanta. People talk. Worldly people also talk philosophy most nicely. You must admire them. How that knowledge came to them. But that is all shallow. Because there is no practice behind it. They simply talk. That's why it has no effect. So that is the difference between Sri Sri Ramakrishna is telling and ordinary people telling. The ideas may be same, the effect is different. The worldly man telling the spiritual values have no effect. Bloodless. But if it comes through spiritualized persons like Ramana Maharshi, like Tulsidas, Ramdas, so many saints are there, numerous saints, Sri Ramakrishna. Immediately it acts upon. Same sentences, but when it comes through Sri Ramakrishna, it affects you most effectively. So, the meaning is one who is seeking the realization of the Atman, that one who is really serious about realizing the divine. He should get rid of mercilessly bad samskaras from his heart through selfless activities. Devotion to the divine, through japa, through meditation and prayers. These are the various methods that make the heart pure. It takes time. Let it take time. Let it take time. Then only one experiences soothing bright light of the self. The sun of knowledge shines bright in such pure heart. Samshuddha kilbishaha. It says in the verse, Samshuddha kilbishaha. That means one who is totally sinless alone would be able to achieve liberation. Just as by broomstick the place is cleaned, by water the rubbish is cleaned, by devotion to the Divine Lord, by discussing about Atman, the impurities are washed away. Heart is the place of Atman. When the heart is perfectly purified, there the sun of knowledge in all its glory is realized. We have seen in Swami Vivekananda's life also, many times Swami himself explains. When he would sit and close his eyes, he would see most soothing, unimaginable, inexpressible light of joy. You would see the most soothing light. And the mind doesn't want to come down from that divine experience. It wanted to stay there. And he thought everybody is having the same experience. Only he came to know about it when Sri Ramakrishna pointed out, do you see light in yourself when you sit for meditation? Swamiji was surprised. How Sri Ramakrishna came to know that I am having light every time? Like that. Anyway, Parangatim, Shri Krishna mentions. It is the highest state of place, reaching which there is no more coming back. Other places such as heavens are temporary. After some time spending in heaven, you will come back again onto this earth. So one should achieve liberation, the place of eternal peace and bliss. We should reach this highest goal, highest state, and make the life blessed. Verse number 46. Tapasvibhyodhiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodhikaha karmibhyaschadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. The yogi is deemed superior to the men of austerity and superior to even men of knowledge, that is Pandits. He is also superior to the ritualists. O Arjun, do thou become a yogi. Yogi is one who constantly dwells upon the Atman, who doesn't want anything except Atman. He doesn't desire anything. total concentration on the Atman is in the heart. And he is not worried about anything else. If the body drops, let it drop. Let it go where it wants to go. That strong determination is demonstrated by the yogi. So Sri Krishna tells Arjun to become yogi like him, like that. Be determined and strong, courageous and bold. The last verse of the chapter 6. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. This Dhyana Yoga Nama Shashto Adhyaya. And among all the yogis, he who, full of faith and with his inner self merged in me, worships me, Shri Krishna tells, he is deemed by me to be the most devout. So how Shri Krishna directly telling the Supreme Self, Paramatman, is there in the bodily form as Shri Krishna. Still people, because of their impurities, they can't believe it. So they remain as they are. Those who did understand Krishna, they are liberated. So this completes the chapter 6. Just I wanted to give a most brief explanation of this chapter 6. Once this sage Shuka had camped in the outskirts of King Janaka's kingdom. King Janak used to regularly attend the discourses with true devotion and as a humble disciple. Once the sage Shuka decided to prove the true devotion of King Janaka to other disciples. He created a fire by his yogic powers. And in the middle of the discourse, he told the king that there was a fire. The king, who was in total concentration, did not hear this nor any other commotion. Such concentration or dhyan, linking ourselves to God, will take us to God realization. Chapter 6 is called Dhyana Yoga or Yoga of Meditation. It deals with meditation, meditator as a means of God realization. Lord begins by describing a monk or a karma yogi. He says that a person may have renounced all actions but will be a karma yogi only when he performs actions without expecting results. Continuing on the same lines, Lord describes a yoga rudaha, that is, as a person who has no attachment to sense objects or to actions and who has totally given up thoughts of the world. Now, in order to put Arjuna at ease, Lord Krishna says that one's own self is one's best friend or worst enemy. There are two levels in one mind. One is the lower level, which is filled with evil qualities and thoughts dictated by body and mind, like lust, anger, jealousy and so on. The higher level is the divine nature, which has all good qualities like selflessness, willingness to help others, etc. When the lower level is conquered by the higher self, the self is a person's friend. Self means here mind. A young plant requires to be protected with care by a fence, or else goats and cows will eat it up. But when the same plant grows into a large tree, the cows and goats will come for resting under the tree. That's what will happen in our life as well. This example is relevant to most of us. Before we come under protection of good people in satsang, and we will hopefully be free for our fellow human beings to rest under us. Now Lord describes Dhyana Yogi as one who can remain calm when faced by joy or sorrow, respect or disrespect, one who will treat mud and gold alike, and also has the same outlook towards all people, friends or enemies. Having described Karma Yogi and Dhyana Yogi and motivated Arjun by telling him that he can take it in his own hands, Lord now proceeds to explain on how to meditate. The process of meditation explained by the Lord teaches a yogi to keep a calm mind, to be fearless, to be firm in his path, and be absorbed in the thoughts of God so that he can totally surrender to Him. When one disciplines his mind and constantly thinks of the Lord, he realizes God. What happens now when one follows this path? All this leads to great happiness, not comparable to any happiness gained from worldly enjoyments. The Lord here also describes yoga as a state of freedom from sorrow. This state cannot be achieved overnight, but should be pursued gradually by renouncing all desires, restraining all senses, becoming calm and focus one's mind on God alone. As if to cover the possible doubts of Arjun on the process of meditation, Lord says that mind is normally restless and wanders away, but has to be brought back every time it happens. And when the yogi becomes God realized, he sees self in all beings and all beings in himself. Such yogis see Lord in all creations and sees all creations in Lord and never loses sight of the Lord. The highest yogi is not one who merely abandons everything and meditates, but he is that person who serves all beings and thus serves God. Arjun raises doubt that the mind is turbulent, unsteady, and as difficult to control as storm. Arjun also wonders on the fate of person who is devoted and with full faith attempts to reach God all the time, but because of inability to subdue his desires, deviates his mind from thoughts of God at the time of his death. Lord now proceeds to counsel Arjun on his concerns. He says that any person who does good deeds can never have a bad fate. They will either be born in a house of wealthy but religious people, if their desires are not exhausted in heaven, or be born in the house of enlightened yogis. The Lord finally says that the yogi who constantly thinks of the Lord with supreme love and faith at all times is the most superior yogi. In this chapter, Lord Krishna explained on how to practice meditation and to get rid of desires and vasanas so that mind can be controlled and focused towards God. He then emphasized the need to bring the wandering mind on track again. Lord also explained how a yogi succeeds in this and attains God realization, and then explained the attitude of God realized yogi. There are many important verses which clearly instruct us in a definite way how to proceed in our yogic practices. One is verse number 5, Uddhared Atmanatmanam Atmatmanam Avsadiyet Atmeva Hyatma Bandhu Bandhuratmeva Ripuratma. A man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. The word Atman denotes body, mind and soul. Depending upon different circumstances in the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is a central point of yoga practice, Atman refers here to be the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of desires. In material existence, one is subject to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because of the mind's ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. one should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attached to them, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle himself is to always engage the mind in divine consciousness. The word is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishyasangu muktvaihi nirvishyam smaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Bandhaya vishyasango muktaye nirvishyam manaha. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in divine consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanajitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vattetatmeva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy. The purpose of practicing enlightened eightfold yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, practice of yoga is simply a waste of time. Practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and his mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictates of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatman within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to divine consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Pratratam buddhisam yogam lavate paurvadehikam yadachetato bhuyaha samsiddho kurunandana. Verse number 43 says, on taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O Arjuna. King Bharata, who took his third birth in the family of good Brahmin, is an example of good birth for the revival of previous transcendental consciousness. King Bharata was the emperor of the world, and since his time this planet came to be known as Bharatvarsha. Formerly it was known as Ilavartavarsha. The emperor at an early stage retired for spiritual perfection, but failed to achieve success because he fell in love with a deer. In his second birth, he was born as a deer who would always wander near hermitages of rishis, where they were constantly discussing about Vedanta in the Upanishads, and this deer became absorbed in their discussions. In his third life, Bharata took birth in the family of a good Brahman and was known as Jada because he always remained secluded and did not talk to anyone. And later on he was discovered as the greatest transcendentalist by King Rahugana. From his life it is understood that transcendental endeavors or the practice of yoga never go in vain. By the grace of the Lord, the transcendentalist gets repeated opportunities for complete perfection in divine consciousness. By virtue of the Purvabhyasena teneva kriyate yamashopi saha jigyansupi yogasya sabdabrahmati vartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist, striving for yoga, stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete divine consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, such disregard of Vedic rituals by the advanced transcendentalists is explained. Ahobata swapachoto gariyan yajjihvagre vartate nam tubhyam te pustapaste juvas susturarya brahmanuchurnama grinantiyete. O my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog-eaters, because such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. The famous example of this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakur Haridas as one of his most important disciples. Although Thakur Haridas happened to take his birth as a Muslim in a Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya due to his rigidly attended principle of chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord daily. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life he must have passed through all the ritualistic methods of the Vedas, known as Shabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take the principle of divine consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord Krishna. So, most important point is, the japa, prayers, worship, all have got tremendous effect of purifying our heart. But do it consciously, attentively, willingly, then you will definitely reap the benefit of doing these spiritual activities. Even coming to the ashrama, if you come with that right attitude, you will feel immensely happy once you enter the compound of the ashram. Anyway, it depends upon our mental state and how we are practicing spiritual sadhanas in our daily life. Anyway, yoga of meditation tells us very clearly how we should focus our attention on the divine, not desiring anything, not become ambitious about worldly way of life. On the other hand, turn all your ambitions towards realizing the divine. That's the way. Give a good turn to all the capabilities towards God, so that you may achieve the goal in this very life itself. If it is not possible to achieve the goal, you will be blessed with good life in the next life, so that you will continue the spiritual sadhana and then you will realize the truth. Thank you very much. And that completes the chapter 6 meditation, yoga of meditation. Next time I will start the chapter 7. '21st, that is Sunday, we are having most important celebration of the Sri Ramakrishna Universal Temple, and that is the worship of Sri Ramakrishna, in whose name the temple is done. Worship of Ramakrishna followed by Homa. We are happy to announce that we got more than 108 Bilva leaves from Florida. They have got 18-20 Bilva trees in the ashrama. Most amazing. Bilva trees, Tulsi tree, Tulsi plants. It is really fantastic, I should say. And the devotees are so devoted and they have identified. That's the meaning of devotion. Ashrama is the part and parcel. The neighboring house people, most of the time they are in the ashrama itself. And they pluck the Bilva tree, Bilva leaves for us. They are knowing that other centers also are asking like that. But they are happy to give. 18-20 trees, Bilva trees, first class Bilva leaves. Each bilva leaf is like a Shiva. Anyway, we have got that. Last year also they gave. This year also as usual they have sent. And we are doing Homa, 108 names of Sri Ramakrishna. Please attend this program. It starts at 10:30. So be a little earlier. So prepare your mind. Finding your seat properly and focusing everything in a proper way. Then you will enjoy it better. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhidamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us, may He nourish us, may our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.